there is no one single answer for what content works on social media, right?
நம்ம வந்து எந்த போஸ்ட்டுமே பூஸ்ட் பண்ணது கிடையாது, எங்கேயுமே ஸ்பான்சர் பண்ணது எதுவுமே கிடையாது, எல்லாமே ஆர்கானிக்காக வந்தது.
Most of the times, like you said, it's one to many. Yeah. But when you do tiny things like this, you get the many also to talk to that.
Terrific point.
I think we shouldn't lose our originality. Welcome to episode 4 of Cooked Bytes, and we are here to speak about our journey from 0 to million followers on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. And this is me, Sheelata, from the social media team.
I'm Samyukta from the social media team.
I'm Adi, who does the least amount of work among all the people here.
I'm Sanjana, the head of the culinary team.
I'm Emmanuel Raj, content creation team.
So we just hit 1 million followers on Instagram and YouTube, and I feel super great about that because that's something we've been working towards. And what do you guys think?
It's been super interesting. The journey has been really good because both the platforms, we didn't hit them simultaneously. It was one after the other, and I think we did Instagram first. So I know the amount of effort that's gone behind it, right from my team and all the other teams, behind the content creation and actually putting up the content on social media. So it's a continuous effort, but it feels great.
Sam, you should be the most proud of about this achievement. What do you think, Sam?
I guess it's been a great learning journey from I joined when we were around 300k on Instagram, I guess. From 300k to 1 million, I guess it took about 2 years, and the amount of work and effort that everyone put into and it being resulted in 1 million, I guess it's a great feeling for each one of us who has worked over here.
That's true. There's a lot of effort that goes behind the work that Sam does as well, because she's the one who actually decides the kind of content that goes up on social media and the way that it looks on our grid and our feed. But Iman over here is part of the content creation team, but also he does edit. So he knows what it takes to actually put up a reel or a recipe that's worthy enough for going on social media. So what do you think about that?
We know that இந்த இடத்துக்கு நம்ம வந்துருவோம் தெரியும், மில்லியன் வந்துருன்றது தெரியும். பட் இந்த 3 years டைம் எடுத்தது கொஞ்சம் வந்து ஜாஸ்தி தான். பட் ஸ்டில் என்னன்னா, நம்ம வந்து எந்த போஸ்ட்டுமே பூஸ்ட் பண்ணது கிடையாது, எங்கேயுமே ஸ்பான்சர் பண்ணது எதுவுமே கிடையாது, எல்லாமே ஆர்கானிக்காக வந்தது. ஸோ டெய்லி நம்ம கன்சிஸ்டண்டாக வீடியோ போடணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஸ்டார்டிங்கில் ஆரம்பிச்சதுலேருந்து இப்போ வரைக்கும் எல்லாமே ஆர்கானிக்காக நடந்தது. ஸோ அதனால இந்த டைம் எடுத்தாலும் அது வந்துருச்சுன்றது ஒரு ஹாப்பினஸ்.
So the one thing that I can point out from that conversation is the word consistency. If at all, if anyone asks, இந்த என்டையர் பாட்காஸ்டே பார்க்க தேவையில்ல, ஒரே வார்த்தையில் சொல்லுங்க அப்படின்னு சொன்னால் இட் இஸ் கன்சிஸ்டன்சி. இதுக்கு மேலே ஸ்விட்ச் ஆஃப் பண்ணி வேறு பார்க்குறவங்க போய் வேறு பார்த்துக்கலாம். பட் கொஞ்சம் இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்காக பேசணும்னு நம்பி முழுசாக பாருங்கள். பட் தட் வாஸ் த ஒன்லி திங் தட் கெப்ட் அஸ் கோயிங். ஏன்னா தெர் ஆர் மந்த்ஸ் வேர் வி வுட் ஹவ் அச்சீவ்ட் 100,000 followers in 1 month. அப்போ என்ன தோணும், இன்னும் 10 months வி வுட் ரீச் 1 million தோணும். பட் தெர் ஆர் மந்த்ஸ் வேர் வி ஹவ் grown by only 5,000 followers. அப்படின்னா என்ன, இன்னொரு 5 வருஷம் ஆனாலும் நம்ம வி won't hit 1 million அப்படின்னு தோணும். ஸோ இந்த எல்லா அப்ஸ் அண்ட் டவுன்ஸ்க்கு மத்தியிலையும் the one thing that we were was consistent, and I would attribute consistency from all of us in terms of content that we put out to be the one single reason for us getting the numbers that we got.
Right, but I think consistency, a lot of people shouldn't mistake it for the fact that we're doing the same thing over and over again. It's about being consistent in the right things. Like maybe Sam can tell you how she is consistent when it comes to posting. Maybe I can tell you how you have to be consistent when it comes to recipes. Adina can tell you how to be consistent when it comes to trying a bunch of different things before, narrowing down on what exactly works for you. Similarly, Srilata could add value on the same, like she works along with Sam and Srilata are on the same team. So stuff that goes out on social media is completely in their control. And Iman will tell you how experimenting in different formats, even while just doing edit or even while creating content, which could be non-food content as well, is very important. So it's a mixture of doing everything, but doing that consistently.
Like she rightly pointed out, consistency in terms of not just posting content, consistency in terms of experimenting stuff as well. That's something that we've done over a period of time. Like there is no one single answer for what content works on social media, right? Whatever worked for us on day one is not the same thing that works today. And the whole evolution we have seen, and we have taken a lot of time to figure out what this evolution also is, right? So that's the consistency you mean, right?
Exactly.
I think in the initial stages it was just recipes. All the content that we create used to be just recipe videos, right?
So, in fact, more than just recipes, it didn't even have a face. Now people see our face. They know that these are the people who are behind the content. The first about 200 content, right? Or probably a little more than that. Even when once you joined also.
2 years or so, I guess no one knew who was behind
Yeah.
it.
Very rarely people
do
might know in stories and stuff, but in terms of
Very
videos,
few shows we did at that point as well. Maybe one or two we just experimented with.
Lunchbox series.
yeah, that's
A personal favorite project. Do check it out on YouTube.
which has
It's called
insane-
Lunchbox series.
which has an insane amount of 4,000 views over a period of 3 years. So I hope that YouTube buries that so deep that no one is able to find that out. But still, there was a popular star who featured in that. I don't know.
Yeah, who's that?
Who's so like it didn't have the brand didn't even have a face. The brand had its own personality, but people didn't know who the people were behind. But even then, people followed our page. They ended up making the recipes that we put out on social media. They ended up sending us a lot of pictures. That's what actually even gave us what exactly do we build as Cooked. If you ask us, did we exactly know where we'll be here today? We knew that we'll be there, but did we know the exact paths that we would take to reach there? No. So all these interactions that happened over that period of time is what led us here. And even then, without showing face, without the video having any emotions, which is purely recipe and something that is going to be helpful for you to cook, even then we ended up having a lot of people following the brand. And that's how we were different in the initial phase, right? The way we were different is all our recipes, more than how it looked nice, these were the path enala seiya mudiyum. It's somewhere replicable, and that was one thing that was a part of our DNA. I think I would attribute the first 1 year of Cooked's growth on social media to the quality of recipes that we created. All the recipes that we created.
But do you think on social media there's something such as right place at the right time or the right kind of content? Do you think there's anything like that? I am specifically asking the question because Cooked was started just before COVID, right? So do you think the whole lockdown phase and people actually cooking at home attributed to our growth in some way?
Like everyone who I speak to about Cooked, they assume COVID helped us propel. But the fact is, even now, I strongly deny the fact that COVID is what made Cooked happen. It's not true. Because even before COVID and after COVID, after lockdown also, the consistency is what kept us going. Because during the peak of COVID, we didn't grow at the same speed that we grew after COVID. So it's not attributed to that. That could have played a minor part, but that wasn't the major contributor. In terms of the recipes that we chose, the way we presented recipes, I think we differentiated ourselves with every other brand that was already present in that space at that time. So I wouldn't attribute COVID, but obviously there are a lot of tailwinds that help certain brands. Like for example, the most popular brand is Tasty, BuzzFeed's Tasty. So the tailwind that BuzzFeed Tasty had was Facebook introduced video in 2014 and 15 when BuzzFeed also got onto Facebook as a platform. So when a platform itself is pushing videos so much, you suddenly start putting recipe content on social media. So it's going to blow up. That's why BuzzFeed has 98 million or 100 million followers. Do you think any other brand can emulate the same 100 million followers on Facebook? No other brand can ever do if they start in 2020 or even 2023. I don't think brands can emulate that. So there are certain tailwinds that are going to help a brand. But in our case, I would still attribute to the one single thing that I pointed out, consistency. In terms of right content, good content, consistently one video a day. And COVID was a great example, right? We didn't have enough content to put out.
Right.
Iman can tell you how we sustained COVID.
We did compilation of recipe videos. First time அப்போ தான் நம்ம கம்பெனிஷனில் போகிறோம். ஏன்னா ஷூட் பண்ணி பேக்கப் பண்ணுற ரெசிபி வீடியோ எல்லாமே எடிட் பண்ணி முடிச்சிட்டோம். ஷூட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு டைம் இல்லை, ஏன்னா அவ்வளோ பண்ணல, வெளில வர முடியாது யாருங்கிறதுனால அந்த டைமில் கம்பெனிஷன் வீடியோ போட்டு, ஏன்னா டெய்லி ஒரு வீடியோ போட்டாங்கன்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு மட்டும் இருந்துச்சு. ஸோ அந்த கன்சிஸ்டன்சி மெயின்டைன் பண்ணுறதுக்காக கம்பெனிஷன் வீடியோலாம் போட்டு அப்படிலாம் மெயின்டைன்.
We actually planned COVID, if you remember, or Friday evening. We were thinking everyone, I mean, the country is going to announce a lockdown. We might not be able to meet. How do we sustain this phase? So everyone assumed it will be a 20-day lockdown, right? So it was an official announcement. But we planned it in a way that everyone who's traveling back home takes a hard disk with them. So that Iman was there, Prithvi was there, laptops and systems that they need to edit. Everyone who was supposed to stay at home, they had responsibilities of what they need to do. So we had 30-40 recipes. But according to our plan, it should have been over in 30 days. But the lockdown extended for 3-4 months. How we ended up doing it is, we started releasing. We didn't want to do less than one video a day. We wanted one video every day. Then we started combining two recipes. If it's a butter naan and a gravy, naan and gravy combo. So it would have been released earlier. So before this, there was 60 other content, which we started repackaging and started putting out as combo videos. And that's how the first few days it was one new video a day. Third day, fourth day, we realized that we need to extend the overall the time that we run this whole thing. Then alternate days, new videos. Then 3 new videos a week. 4 days, it's this combination of content. Okay. That's how we sustained COVID. And the next story probably I mean, you weren't a part of it, but you know how we ended up shooting content as well.
Right.
Once the lockdowns were relaxed.
Yeah, but Srilata, when he was talking about tailwinds, don't you think at one phase, even when we were already on social media, there was no reels?
Yeah.
So one tailwind that we could actually be a part of is Instagram actually promoting reels as their own feature. But one thing is that we did not capitalize on it immediately.
Yeah.
So could you possibly take us through how we jumped on that bandwagon and slowly started capitalizing that?
Yeah, I think in the initial stage, since we did recipes, we immediately started, re-editing recipe videos into reels itself. And of course, like Adhyana said, if for example, let's say Tasty, they, as soon as Facebook video was introduced, they started doing it over there. So that's the reason why they got so much coverage. In the similar way, we also tried doing it in the initial stages, but we didn't shoot specific content for reels, I guess. So adanal and the trending audio, I think one of the reels that you mentioned previously is
Chicken 65.
that went very 8 million enamo poche Instagram la appdinu.
Sam would remember that phase because we didn't have a clarity on how reels worked, and you guys were in touch with the account managers on Facebook and Instagram. Even I don't think they were very clear about what they wanted us to do.
Initially, they didn't know what to do with reels because they didn't have much data to go with. Because initially, we didn't have much analytics to go by. It was just the views. You didn't get any more data. Recently, only we got much more data available. I guess in the last 6 months or so. So it was all about how. It was all about luck, I would say, in the initial stages.
True.
But then when you post reels regularly, you kind of know about what works, but you can't be sure about it. You just have to make sure that you repeat it consistently and see what works in the longer run. That was what we did, I guess, in the initial stages.
I think we were desperate enough to do 2-3 content also on certain days to ensure we grew. That was a very tough phase, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when was the first time we shot or ideated for a reel itself as a specific type of video?
First hackathon, content hackathon.
You want to talk about what hackathon is?
I
don't want to talk about that.
I guess it was before the hackathon. I guess it was right before I joined, where you guys split into 3 teams and did just one content.
That was the first hackathon.
First hackathon.
That was the first ever
Okay.
hackathon we had.
So let's then talk about what hackathon is.
ஹேக்கத்தானா பேசிக்காக என்னென்னா டீமில் வந்து 2 ஸ்பிளிட் ஆகிடும். அதில் வந்துட்டு இவ்வளோ கண்டென்ட் கிரியேட் பண்ணும். அதே ரீல்ஸாக இருக்கும், ரெசிபியாக இருக்கும். ஸோ அதில் எது வந்து ஹையஸ்ட்டாக பர்ஃபார்ம் ஆகுதோ அதை பேஸ் பண்ணி மார்க் போட்டு.
So you can say that it's a small internal competition that we have within our own team.
The first hackathon it was not even a month long. It was one day long. And announcement was made in the afternoon and everyone had to shoot something by the end of the day. And usually that's how technology companies run hackathon. They start and end within 20 to 48 hours. They pick up a problem and the teams try to solve the problem using a technology solution. So we sort of tried getting cues from that concept and tried incorporating into content creation as well.
So we ideated the Clibrota reel in afternoon. We shot it in evening.
Yeah.
I guess the 3 initial ideas are the bouquet, the kiri parota, and the alcohol-infused dishes, I guess.
அப்போ வந்து 3 டீம் இருக்கும். ஸோ 3 ரீல் அப்போ அந்த டைமில் ஷூட் பண்ணோம். அதில் ஒன்று நல்லா போனது Clibrota.
3 reels were shot in the same day. We ideated a lot, but we ended up deciding that this is what we want to do. In fact, on the video, I could talk about that video because Iman and I were a part of that team. So we ended up making parotas, but ordering salna and chicken or mutton from somewhere else. And that was a point of time where we were seeing a lot of restaurants trying to sell this. So we wanted to create a version of that and then pair it with a drink, beer. So we sort of showed that in one video. And like, I would say our effort was probably the least among all the things that were happening. There were insane amount of effort that was happening inside the room where one team was shooting
Alcohol infused dishes, yeah. with a whole special aesthetic and
Pani puri
lighting
shots.
and all of that. Yeah.
So that was,
Gulab jamun
Gulab
also. I
jamun.
That
think.
was another team. You were a part of another team, right?
Yeah, I feel like we did a
You
mug
did a
cake.
mug
Mug cake.
Yeah.
So you did a 1 minute mug cake,
Yeah.
if I'm not wrong. Yeah. Even at that point of time, that content also did well. The alcohol content didn't do it the way that we expected, but that was interesting. Like 3 content in one day, 3 different teams. It was posted, and that was, I think, the biggest jump that we would have got in 1 month, right?
Yeah.
Actually, we
Definitely.
capitalized trending audio.
Yes, yes.
Flavor attack.
Yes.
Was it no Master?
Yes, it was.
Master the
It was a Vijay song.
Yeah. Sam, do you know how many followers we got that month, Sam?
It was just before I joined. I guess it was around 50 to 70,000.
I think.
I guess it
in
was
the time.
70,000 to be exact.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the single highest jump till then.
So the first ever time we tried shooting for a specific type of content turned out to be a turning point.
Yeah, which
As
is
a
true
whole.
right now.
Yeah.
Looking
Yeah.
back at it, whatever we assumed that we wanted to do that day, which is trying to solve a problem, we tried solving the problem.
That being said, on that one day, we ended up shooting 3 pieces of content as 3 different teams. All of them hoping that their reels would go to 1 million minimum, if not more than that. But that wasn't the reality.
True.
One reel ended up doing really well, and 2 of them were very average performing content as per our standards.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, that's the hit rate for almost all our content, right? Yeah, I wouldn't even say that we have a 30% hit rate in terms of every video reaching 1 million or something. It's even lesser than that. It's 10% or 15%. But all the effort that's going into each video is the same. We hope that it's going to do well, but there are a few cues that make some video do better than the other one. I mean, I think that was a one inflection point for us on Instagram. And from there, I don't think anything stopped us from growing. From there, it's always been consistent, right,
Yeah.
Sam? By the time you joined then, right?
Yeah. From then, I guess it's where we started experimenting and then noting down about what works and what didn't work.
Cool.
And we worked on doubling it, I guess. That's the one point. Because after that is when we started ASMR, we started voiceovers and many other content. Or even trending reels that go about, we started recreating trending reels from that point.
So we'll speak in detail about that, but there's a journey where Instagram Reels got into play and we sort of cracked the whole Reels problem. Same time there was YouTube, where I would say literally the content that didn't have a face didn't do terrific on YouTube. People expected certain emotions to be associated with the video, and that's when we started thinking what's the approach that we want to take in YouTube. And YouTube again had an inflection point. Again, Iman was an important piece of that inflection point solution. So you can talk about that piece of thing that happened.
அதான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் என்னன்னா இன்ஸ்டாகிராமுக்கு யூடியூப்க்கு மேஜர் டிஃபரன்ஸ் என்ன ஏஜ் குரூப் ஆடியன்ஸ் இருக்காங்க ஆடியன்ஸோட ஏஜ் குரூப் வந்து அங்கே வந்து டிஃப்ரெண்ட்டாக இருக்கும் இங்கே 25 to 40 இருக்காங்க நாங்கள் வந்து 35 to 50. ஸோ இந்த ரேஞ்சில் தான் இருப்பாங்க யூடியூப் ஷார்ட்ஸ் பார்க்குறோம். ஸோ அப்படி பார்க்கும்போது அவங்களுக்கு கண்டிப்பாக என்டர்டெயின் பண்ணுறது தான் அவங்க மெயின் இதாக தேவைப்படுது. ஸோ அப்படி தான் நான் வந்து சும்மா ரேண்டமாக ஒரு யாரோ ஒரு பிட்ரிஸில் ஒரு கிரியேட்டர் நினைக்கிறேன் அதை வந்து ரீக்ரியேட் பண்ணோம் அந்த மாமசஸ் மீன்றதுல டீப் ஃப்ரை பண்ணுறதுக்கு வந்து ஹேண்டில் யூஸ் பண்ணி. ஸோ அதை ரீக்ரியேட் பண்ணி போட்டோம். அது டக்குன்னு பார்த்தா வைரல் ஆயிடுச்சு ஒரு டே. ஆமாம் ஒன் டே.
Like if someone searches for cooked mom versus me, they'll be able to find this video. Or we'll put it in the description as well. I mean, we should ask them to watch that.
ஸோ அது பார்த்தா டேல 5 million சம்திங் அது வந்துச்சு. அதுக்கப்புறம் பார்த்தா இப்போ 40+ மில்லியன்ல இருக்கு அது.
I think that's the most watched content on our YouTube shorts yet,
And also that's the most commented, I guess. Every day there's a new comment popping up in that.
Imagine 40 million views. It's 4 crore people.
எல்லாருக்கும் how it matters on how the content is relatable to them more than being educational அந்த மாதிரி. Also we learned to see another dimension within what sort of content we do. I think அதுலேருந்து we started doing a lot of entertainment contentல.
இனிமே நம்ம வந்து இன்ஸ்டாகிராமுக்கு நம்ம ஷூட் பண்ற ரீல்ஸ் எல்லாத்தையும் வந்து ஷார்ட்ஸ்லயும் போஸ்ட் பண்ணுவோம். அது போக ஷார்ட்ஸ்க்கு ஸ்பெசிஃபிக்கா அதுக்கப்புறம் என்டர்டெயின்மெண்ட் பேஸ் பண்ணி கொஞ்சம் இது பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சோம். எப்படின்னா டெய்லி நம்ம வீட்டில் ஏதாவது நடக்கிற கிச்சன்ல நடக்கிற திங்ஸ் இருக்கும்ல அது ரொம்ப ரிலேட்டபிள் ஸ்டஃபா இருக்கும்.
Like இந்த பால் பொங்கற மாதிரி பண்ணீங்கல்ல.
கண்டிப்பா பால் பொங்க எல்லாரும்
அதுக்கப்புறம் அந்த மாங்காய் வந்து கீழே விழுறது ஒன்று பண்ணீங்க அதுவும் ஹிட் ஆச்சு.
அது வந்து ஒரு சம்மர் டைம் அப்படின்னா மாங்காய் அடிச்சு சாப்பிடுறது கொஞ்சம் நாஸ்டாலஜிக் மூமெண்ட் ஆகும்.
And that was right outside the office.
ஆமா அது ஆபீஸ் வாசல்ல எடுத்தது.
அதுக்கப்புறம் அந்த கருவேப்பிலை லைஃப் ஆஃப் கருவேப்பிலைன்னு அர்த்தம். அது
அந்த கண்டென்ட்லாம் போகாதுன்னு நினைச்சு போட்ட கண்டென்ட் ஸ்டில் நிறைய மில்லியன் போச்சு.
Simple விஷயங்கள். Like I think the one line idea behind that was it was part of some meeting where someone pointed out we negotiate and buy a karvapala but we literally discard it once it is done. So அது வந்து you guys showcased it in a way that it's appropriate. And even recently one of your content the whole introvert thing I think I'm seeing a lot of people who I know talk about that content whenever they meet me out. சரி அந்த வீடியோ பார்த்தேன் அவர் செம்மையா பண்ணாரு.
So that builds up like a great personal relationship because people are able to relate with that content. So do you all think that considering that ours is a brand and that didn't have a specific face at one point, then we started introducing a lot of faces, it wasn't just one person. Do you think that for an individual content creator, that's why it maybe could be easier? Because there's a face, you're going to see that person, him or her, every single day, so you know what to expect from them. Do you think it's maybe easier for an individual creator to build a presence?
I definitely think it is much more easier for an individual creator to build his own brand than a brand who's essentially, we are a consumer brand and there are consumer products. For us to build a brand is the toughest thing. So if we have cracked a few things, I think individual creators can definitely do those things much better because they have one face that is associated and they have one niche that they've picked up. So which means that the result that they can deliver is significantly more than what a brand could. And end of the day, even though a lot of faces carry the brand cook, people remember the brand cook more than any of our faces.
But that was the intention, right? And that's always the intention.
And we are trying to do that. But individual creator, he doesn't have to. It has to be just one name. So for him, the purpose is straightforward. For us, the purpose is sort of Talais Timoko Taramari. We want to do this, but at the same time, we don't want to overdo it also. So we want to try and maintain a balance. I don't think individual creators have those challenges per se. I personally think individual creators can do a much better job of building something quicker than what we did.
But Iman, for an individual creator to actually get started, they don't need a setup like what we have, right? What does somebody actually need to just get started on social media?
ஒரு மொபைல் போதும், மொபைல் ஒரு ட்ரைபாட் அது போதும். ஏன்னா மொபைலில் வந்து ட்ரைபாடை வச்சுட்டு நம்ம அந்த ஷூட் பண்ணிடலாம், மொபைலே எடிட் பண்ணிடலாம். நிறைய ஆப் இருக்குது, இப்போ கேப்கட் இருக்குது, இன்ஷாட் இருக்குது, கைன் மாஸ்டர் இருக்குது. ஸோ அதிலே எடிட் பண்ணிடலாம். ஸோ ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு இது பெட்ரு. அதுக்கப்புறம் வேணும் டிஎஸ்எல்ஆர் வாங்குறது.
ஒர்க் அவுட் ஆச்சுன்னா they can proceed.
ஆனால் அங்கேயுமே எந்த கிரியேட்டராக இருந்தாலுமே கன்சிஸ்டன்சி ரொம்ப முக்கியம்.
Right.
சோஷியல் மீடியாக்குள்ளே வந்துட்டோம்னாலே நம்ம வந்து கன்சிஸ்டன்ஸாக வீடியோ போட்டால் மட்டும்தான் அங்கே வந்து ரீச் இருக்கும். அதே மாதிரி நீஷ் எடுக்கணும்.
So I just want to point out about the whole Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, two different platforms. I have an opinion on how these two platforms are different. Iman has an opinion, so I would want to listen from you on how these two platforms are different. Because for someone who is trying to create content on this platform, having an understanding of what is it so different about these platforms? Can I create one content, put on both platforms and expect it to grow? Abdingra question, I want to see if we can come up with an answer.
Sam, do you have an opinion on this?
I guess the kind of audience that are in Instagram and YouTube are totally different. So obviously the kind of people who consume on Instagram are more aware about what they want to watch. So let's say they mostly in Instagram your interest shows more. So let's say you watch a cooking reel, more cooking related thing comes. But in YouTube it's not like that. It's something like you search intentionally.
You feel the algorithm on Instagram is more personalized to someone's preferences?
To an extent, yes. Because the more you interact, the more you comment or the more you engage with a creator, the more it shows. But in YouTube, it's not the case. So in case, let's say you watch a video, it just pops up, but you can skip in. But Instagram, there's always a reminder every few seconds or something like that. So I guess in Instagram, it's much more, I would say, personalized than YouTube.
And also, just like we spoke right now, there's a sort of content also that works on one platform doesn't work on another platform.
For example, the same 40 million content. I don't think it did 40 million. Not even 40 million. I don't even think it did a million. Not even million. See, drastic difference.
அந்த ஒரு ஆடியன்ஸ் டிஃபரன்ஸும் இருக்கு, பிளாட்ஃபார்ம் வந்து புஷ் பண்ற டிஃபரன்ஸும் இருக்கு. இஃப் நம்ம பிராண்ட்ல வந்து இஃப் யூ ஆர் டூயிங் என்டர்டெய்னிங் கண்டென்ட், ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் த இன்ட்ரோவர்ட் கண்டென்ட் பெர்ஃபார்ம் வெல் போத் ஆன் யூடியூப் அண்ட் ஆல்சோ இன்ஸ்டாகிராம். But I don't really understand why it's not going that well on YouTube. Because throughout the journey, I can see that we have cracked one code, one particular pattern for Instagram. But as such, for YouTube Shorts, we are still sort of experimenting as to this content might work, this content might work. And still, there are certain content that goes well in both the platforms. One such thing I can remember is this introvert content. And nadula sodapalsna kuda or content.
One more content that works. Any content with Kirti works.
Yeah.
Of course, having a celebrity in any piece of content on any platform, I think is going to do well. But I think that's also a cue for people who are just getting started with content creation, that sometimes it's just hit or miss. Doesn't matter if you're like a big brand or a small brand or an individual creator, but some things are just hit and miss, and you can't really get demotivated by that, because we've been hammering all on the same point that consistency is the only thing that will make you grow on social media.
See, for me, I have another important insight on what is the difference between two platforms. I think the intent of people who coming onto the platform is very different. On YouTube, I use both platforms, so I'm a user who's overlap of those two platforms. The intention of going to Instagram and intention of using YouTube is very different. I watch shorts, but it's just for entertainment. The intent is clearly purely entertainment. I want something where I can chill some time and watch. But in terms of Instagram, if you look at it, the kind of content that each one, it's personalized. I might get some cricket content, which I might want to share it to my cricket friends. So there could be some informative content. So it's a lot of information also that you consume on Instagram, and that's why you have this functionality of even saving something. So once you save it, you're able to go back and refer to it at a later point of time. It could be as small as the next cafe that you want to visit. All of us end up doing it, right? If I find something interesting, I might share it with her. I might save it, she might save it. Maybe someone can make plans together to visit there. So the intent on Instagram is slightly different from the intent that which we go to YouTube. And I think even that's, as I'm spelling this out, if we look at from this aspect also, the content creation, we could relook at it from this angle and see if it satisfies the intent of people who are coming onto the platform. And that's why nice recipe, it works really well on Instagram, because it's a great recipe. I want to make it. I want to save it. So more people save it. Instagram pushes it to a lot more people. Shots, maybe I saw it. Maybe I might want to save it. There is no point of saving it also. You have to just copy the link and put it somewhere. So I feel the intent of people coming onto the platform is very different.
And also in general, I think Instagram, like the intention is to go there and like stuff that you like and follow those people and get more of that. But on YouTube, I don't think it's a very normal behavior for most people, even if it's a creator that they like, to actually go and follow them. Because at any point, you can just search for anything in specific and you'll get the result. But in Instagram, if you like a certain creator's content, and say maybe it's from a year ago, there's no way you're going to take the time to actually scroll through and find it.
Maybe that's why they don't even want to build the search functionality. Could be. That's why they don't want to build the search functionality.
Even now, if we have to find something on Instagram, we'll have to scroll
on our own content, right?
Exactly.
True.
So in general, I mean, when we are talking, platform specific, we also spoke about the fact that you should have niche, like different niches of content. If you're an individual creator, again, it might be fairly easy to find your niche and then keep making content in that similar fashion. It could be the similar look or feel, or the words that you use, the way that you look. It could be anything like that. But I think we as a brand have experimented with a lot of things. You briefly mentioned we did ASMR and we've done voiceovers. So maybe Iman can tell us about ASMRs and how they kind of work.
ஏஸ்மர் கண்டென்ட் வந்து ரீல்ஸ் நம்ம பார்க்கும்போது நமக்கு வரும்ல ஃபீல்டில். ஸோ அதை பார்த்துட்டு ஒன்று இப்படி பண்ணலான்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஆசைப்பட்டு பண்ணதில் வந்துட்டு 2-3 பண்ணோம். அதில் வந்துட்டு ஐ திங்க் த 4th கண்டென்ட் நினைக்கிறாரு, வாட்டர்மெலன் மொய்ட்டோ. பிச்சிட்டு போச்சு.
That was not the first content you did, right? Fourth content
almost.
So which is again, if you're trying a concept, you have to try it for a few more attempts before you give up on an idea.
So அது ஆல்மோஸ்ட் ஒரு 10 மினிட் போச்சுன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஸோ அதுக்கப்புறம் போட்டோம், அதில் குலுக்கி சர்பத் போச்சு ஏஸ்மார்லேயே.
ஒரு ரூட் எடுத்துட்டோம் அங்கேருந்து.
பட் அது வந்து இட்ஸ் குவைட் இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங். ஏன்னா பெவரேஜஸ் வந்து நம்ம பேஜ்லேயே போகுது அதுக்கு முன்னாடி. பட் வென் வி பேர் டூயிங் அ பெவரேஜ் வித் டிஃப்ரெண்ட் கான்செப்ட் லைக் ASMR, சடன்லி இட் ஸ்டார்டட் பெர்ஃபார்மிங் ரியலி வெல். ஸோ தட் வாஸ் ரியலி இன்சைட்ஃபுல் நம்மளுக்கே.
ஆமாம். ஸோ ஏஸ்மார் போட்டோம். அதுக்கப்புறம் வாய்ஸ் ஓவர்ஸ் பண்ணோம். வாய்ஸ் ஓவர்ஸில் வந்து கர்ட் ரைஸ் இதெல்லாம் போயிட்டு இருந்துச்சு. கர்ட் ரைஸ்லாம் ரொம்ப ஈஸி ரெசிபி, ரொம்ப பேசிக் ரெசிபி அப்படின்னு நினைப்போம். நம்ம ரெசிபியா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் போஸ்ட் பண்ணும்போது ஸ்டார்டிங் பிராண்ட் ஆரம்பிக்க ரெசிபியா போடும்போது நல்லா போனது கர்ட் ரைஸ் தான்.
அதுல அந்த ஸ்டோரி டெல்லிங் நல்லா இருந்துச்சு. தட் குட் பி தி இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங் பாயிண்ட். என் அம்மா எனக்கு சமைச்சு தருவாங்க. தட்ஸ் தி திங். ஏன்னா எல்லாத்தோட அம்மாவும் கர்ட் ரைஸ் சமைச்சு கொடுத்துருப்பாங்க, பொட்டேட்டோ பண்ணி கொடுத்துருப்பாங்க. And no one spoke about it.
வாய்ஸ் ஓவர்னு வரும்போது நமக்கு பர்சனல் கனெக்ட் ஜாஸ்தி ஆயிடுது பீப்புள் கூட.
அந்த ஒருத்தர் அந்த கதையை பேசினோட அது ஏன் கதைன்னு எல்லாரும் ரிலேட் பண்ணிக்க முடியாது.
ஸோ அந்த டைம்ல அந்த இது போச்சு. அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு தொடர்ந்து ஒரு வாய்ஸ் ஓவர் சீரியஸ் வந்துச்சு, கொங்கு சீரியஸ்னு.
That's not a serious, by the way. Again, making it very clear, I choose to make recipes that I knew. Japan chicken, how can you put it in Kongu series? Erode people introduced it, but okay. Chennai, look at how popular it is. I mean, I would boldly claim that we made it more popular than Vignesh Shivan ever did. Honestly, the video did millions even before he uttered that I used to eat it. And we had 10,000 people, more than 10,000 people actually making it using cooked. So
We
again,
used to get a lot of
And
DMs
we
and
also
all.
used every week someone or the other would create it, we would reshare it in the story. So
Correct.
there was so much craze about Japan chicken, and then I guess arisi parappu sadam.
again, Arisi Paruppu Sadam is very similar to curd rice in the sense. The curd rice spoke about how my mother made curd rice. Arisi Paruppu Sadam spoke about how the entire Coimbatore Road, that entire zone, the West Tamil Nadu folks made at home. So it was so relatable for them. Like, Amala, this is what people, this is the staple food here. But unfortunately, I'm sitting in a different city, sitting in a different country, and no one spoke about it. You guys spoke about it. So, I mean, to be honest, that's a cue with which we are trying to discover more recipes from more regions, right? Like one of the videos that is going to go out is about Masi Sambal. Masi Karvadu, enake Masi Karvadu ennu theriyadu. After eating it, it was really good that I want to figure out more from that region. So we would love for more content like that to be unearthed.
We also did a prawn and tapioca curry from Kanyakumari.
Correct. So அந்த மாதிரி ஒவ்வொரு ரீஜன்ல இருந்து if you can unearth certain things that people actually lot of people make it. The beauty is Arisi Paruppu Sadam, you ended up seeing a lot of people living in Chennai who are not even used to knowing what it is, making it at home. So you're sort of not, even though you're calling it a certain region based dishes, actually we are the ones who are bringing all regions together and bringing everything together. That's how we are bringing through food. I think Kanyakumari edukrom.
Like you're educating people through your emotional story. But then when you were telling that story, what was the idea? Like, was your idea the fact that you just want to say your story in a language that you're comfortable with? Because that specific voiceover, like the voiceovers that you do are mostly in Tamil. So is it just because you can explain better, or is it just because that's how you've lived that story, or is it because you know that our audience is, we do have a large chunk of audience from Tamil Nadu, so you want to connect with them? Like, what is your idea behind doing a different language or a vernacular language?
One thing is language. வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா, we have a lot of followers based out of Tamil Nadu, and even that's why we are taking the liberty of speaking in Tamil once in a while in this whole conversation also. And honestly, speaking in your mother tongue, you're able to connect with another individual on a personal level much more than you could ever do it with another foreign language like English. So it's essentially one-on-one connect to the language use பண்றோம். It's one-to-many connect. So that's how I saw it. At the same time, every story that was there, probably people might not know how we exactly do it. It's not just something that you randomly imagine and you go on blabbering something. So I write 10 lines, but I end up speaking only 5 lines. So it's very curated on exactly what I want to speak. What are the words that people might relate to? What are the things that they might be able to, like உடம்பு சரியில்லையா, வெளியூர் போகணுமா, எதாக இருந்தாலும் அரிசி பருப்பு அப்படின்னா அவங்களுக்கு புரியுது. At the same time, what do we stand for? Like people are like, there are certain things like cooked or culture value. All of us, we have certain values that here, right? All of us are equal. There is no hierarchy. இதெல்லாம் பேசுறோம்ல. அந்த மாதிரி நம்மளும் வந்து what all we want to ஷேருங்கிற ஒப்பீனியன்ஸ் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நம்ம வந்து வீடியோவில் சொல்லுவோம். அதில் ஒரு இதில் நான் சொல்லியிருப்பேன், பக்தியில் வந்து புத்தியும் சேர்த்தவங்க தான் நாம அப்படின்ட்டு. நானும் போயிட்டு இல்லை, பட் ஆனால் எனக்கே அது எப்படி எழுதுனேன்னு தெரியாது. ஸோ இட் வாஸ் வெரி மீனிங்ஃபுல் ஃபார் மீ டு ரைட் சம்திங் தட் we can be devoted to God, but at the same time we are people who actually brought in some intellectual thought into it. அதே மாதிரி வந்து இன்னொரு இதில் வந்து கோயில் ஏன் கூழ் ஊற்றுறாங்கன்னா, சாமி மனசு குளிரும், மக்கள் வயிறு நிறையும். So these are things that I think for a certain content, ஏன்னா இதுதான் நம்ம அப்படின்னு காமிக்கிற மாதிரி, and people are able to relate to it. கரெக்ட் தானே? So what does it happen? நீ கூழ் ஊற்றுனா 4 பேத்துக்கு வயிறாருது. நெக்ஸ்ட் டைம் ஒரு கூழ் ஊற்றுற போது வந்து அந்த சம்மந்தமே இல்லாத கூட நான் அதுக்கு போய் டொனேட் பண்ணலாம்னு ஒரு ஆசை வரலாம், ஏன்னா 4 பேத்துக்கு அது சோறு போடுது. ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி திங்ஸ் தட் பீப்புள் குட் டேக் அஸ் இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன், திங்ஸ் தட் பீப்புள் குட் கனெக்ட். ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி லைன்ஸ் ஆர் curated, and I wouldn't credit everything to me. Off late பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, to make it even better, I take help of Iman, I take help of Srinath to see if we can improve it. And that whole practice வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, it's a part of everyone's work மாதிரி ஆயிடுச்சு. It's not just me, like even people from your team who are already part of your team, probably who has joined your team recently also, everyone will learn from this and everyone wants to give the best few things. It could be in English also, like whatever language is. இவ பண்ற வீடியோலையும் சஞ்சு பண்ற வீடியோ, the language she uses, she also makes it a point to explain it in a way that they understand it. This is probably the most easiest thing you could make with this, and this is how simple it is to convert this into this. So you're able to bring in a few sentences which is relatable. So I think relatability is the one line under which all of this falls into.
தமிழ்ல பண்றதுக்கு ஒரு ரீசன் என்னன்னா இப்ப ரொம்ப ரூட்டட் ரெசிபியா இருக்கும். அதை போய் நம்ம இங்கிலீஷ்ல பண்ணும்போது அந்த இது கனெக்ட் இருக்காது. ஆல்மோஸ்ட் இன்னொன்னு ஏதோ ஒரு இது இப்ப இருக்கு இந்த இது அரிசி பருப்பு சாதமே இருந்தாலும் இந்த பருப்பு போடுங்க அரிசி போடுங்க அந்த ப்ராசஸ் மட்டும் சொல்லாம அதுக்குள்ள இருக்க ஒரு கனெக்டுக்காக நம்ம எழுதுறது இது. ஸோ அந்த இதுதான் இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் ரொம்ப
ப்ராசஸை விட அந்த ஸ்டோரி இஸ் வாட் மேக்ஸ் மோர் பீப்புள் டு ட்ரை தட்னு எனக்கு தோணுது.
உண்மை.
ப்ராசஸ் வந்து அண்டர்ஸ்டுட், they see it, they understand that this is how it is to be made, and cooked upல வந்து ஃப்ரீயா எல்லாமே கிளியரா காமிச்சிடறோம், அதுவும் பண்ணிடுறோம். பட் த சேம் டைம் இந்த ஸ்டோரி வந்து நல்லா இருக்குன்னு தோணுது. அண்ட் நம்ம நல்லா போன மற்ற எல்லா கண்டென்ட்டும் இருக்கலாம், பீட் லாங்குவேஜ் இங்கிலீஷாக கூட இருக்கலாம் சஞ்சனா பண்ண வீடியோலையும். இட்ஸ் த ஸ்டோரி தட் ஷீ ஸ்பின்ஸ் அரௌண்ட் தட்ல. And now that you guys have pointed out, I want to do one in English.
Yeah, so in the madri when you guys are like speaking about content creation, it's like giving me a question in my mind saying how do you exactly decide this is what I'm going to speak about. For example, in some content you'll have to under chicken pepper soup or something you did small, medium, large, extra large. So do you like ideate it before itself, or
see, I would love to say that I ideated before and I went on to shoot, which is what I'm trying to get to as a creator, which is what every creator would try to get to. Right? You also would எல்லாருமே அதை ஆசைப்படுவோம். Some days வந்து those are busy days where you go with the flow. அங்கே போனதுக்கப்புறம் how do you want to play it ன்னு பார்க்கும்போது I saw 3 different cups. 3லேயும் ஊற்றலாம். இது சீசன் வேர் everyone is infected with cold and flu. Let's call it as உனக்கு கம்மினா இது அதிகம்னா அது enjoy. அதில் there was another funny thing also. There were 3 size of cups. Ideally 4th size இருந்துச்சுன்னா கரெக்டாக இப்படி பெருசாக இருக்கும். 2 இருந்துச்சு ஒன்று டக்குன்னு பெருசாச்சு. அப்படின்னா என்ன பண்ணலாம், SM XL. அப்படின்னா எல் இல்லைங்கிறத பார்த்துட்டு சொல்லுவாங்க, வெயிட் பண்ணலாம் அப்படிமோ. அதே மாதிரி கமெண்ட்ல வந்து எல் இஸ் மிஸ்ஸிங், அதுக்கு ஒரு 500 லைக் இருக்கும். ஸோ தோஸ் ஆர் கான்சியஸ் திங்ஸ் தட் யூ புட் இட் ஸோ தட் யூ கேன் பிளே வித் யுவர் ஃபாலோவர்ஸ் மாதிரி. It's not that it's just that's a way for us to play with them.
But that engagement is also a great way to make that content go on social media pages, right? It's not as simple as you're telling a story, they listen, they like it. It doesn't get over there.
Correct.
You're making them talk to you. Like most of the times, like you said, it's one to many. Yeah. But when you do tiny things like this, you get the many also to talk to that.
Terrific point. See, social media la vandu, like I remember these 2 girls making a presentation to a set of entrepreneurs about how to grow on social media. அதில் வந்து இதை நீங்கள் சொல்லியிருந்தீங்க, and she's put it out beautifully. One to many, but if you can get those many to talk to you, nothing like it. இதுதான் வந்து என்னன்னா working towards engagement and not followers. If you work towards engagement, followers will கண்டிப்பாக follow. You can close your eyes, that will happen. So it's great, beautifully put. One to many, but many to one நடந்துச்சுன்னா you're sorted.
I think that's something we've also been consistently focusing on, right from all the content we put out, or also putting it out as stories. And also when such content, arsi paruppu sadam, curd rice, all those videos went viral, we got a lot of DMs asking for the recipe.
Right.
So when people actually come in DM us regarding this recipe kudunga, adoda recipe link irundha share பண்ணுங்க, we tried this அப்படினு, we actually get to know the impact of whatever content we put out.
I remember you both telling me that we had more than 4,000 DMs to clear.
Yeah.
4,000 messages to clear. I asked, why are people still waiting after 3 days after texting us? Why are we not replying back to them on time? Because it should be more than 4,000, which we've already cleared, and it's not even showing how many is 100. It's whenever I reply, it's showing in there. And Sam, do you want to talk about one thing that we didn't talk about the whole engagement page? No? From 0 followers, you were at 300 followers, 300,000 followers. நீ வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் another 900,000 followers acquire பண்ணிருக்கோம் இன்ஸ்டாகிராம்ல மட்டும். Lot of people would message you on Instagram, cooked page. How do you, I mean, you tell what you're doing with the messages. I don't know people even know that you reply back to them.
So basically, I reply to each and every single message, even if it's just a thank you from their side, or even if they ask a simple query. I guess we reply to each and everything, and the amount of love that they show back to us replying, some people are even surprised that a brand like us will reply to them. So it's something that I guess we have been constantly doing from day one, that replying to comments. So even that 4,000 thing was a huge thing. If we thought we could have just avoided it, but then we made sure that we replied and we did not go against what we believed.
We literally sat one whole day to reply to all those.
So I think people who don't know who's the one who's replying? I think you guys can show your face that these are the girls who reply. Most probably it will be Sam, right?
தனியா ஃப்ரேம் வச்சிருக்காங்க, கொஞ்சம் ஜூம் பண்ணுங்க.
Sam na. See, I mean, obviously we spoke about the voiceover and how it did. That's one thing. For me, the first few recipes, 150 or 200 recipes I created, there was a long break. And then the whole the beer and Kilipada thing happened. And again a long break. Then last 7-8 months is where I've been actively creating content, where I also enjoy doing it. It's a on and off story. Now I've been consistent. But you have someone who's been consistently creating content over the last 3 years that she is part of it. And she's known to create some impulsive content. Like I think of it now, and even just before this whole conversation, we had a debate of who ideated and shot a content the quickest. She ended up insulting all of us, saying that you did in 40 minutes, I did in 10 minutes. Boss. So we want to hear from you on what's your take on how you create content, and you've been consistently doing it for 3 years.
Right, so just on the whole consistency card, there's ways that you can kind of split the content that you're shooting for your page. You know the fact that you have to put out content regularly, but you may not be able to put the same amount of effort in every single content for whatever reason. It could be a crunch of time, crunch of ideas, it could be anything. But actually having that bifurcation when you're planning itself is super important, where you have some things which are monotonous or part of your routine, some things which could take a little bit of effort but is still not out of your comfort zone, and maybe one part of the whole picture where it's high effort, a lot of time that goes into ideation, a lot of time into execution, but still you need that just for the sake of experimentation. So when it's a combination of all three, as a content creator, you also don't get exhausted because you're not forced to make these high impact videos all the time. You know that there are days you can have slow days, you can make simple content. It's not about putting too much effort on an everyday basis, because you will burn out as a creator as well. I think that also paired with a little bit of awareness on what's happening in the market or what's happening around the world really helps make content, like he said, spontaneous. So for instance, if you know that the prices of tomatoes are high and you're able to make, say, takali chutney without takali, that's something that people relate to, because they are affected by the fact that the tomato prices are very high in the market. So if you're able to react and impulsively make content that people can relate to, which also adds to the entertainment factor, like a lot of content that Iman does. So on an entertainment basis, you'll be able to relate with that content on a personal level, but at the same time, you're teaching them something, saying that, okay, this is probably the only way you know, and there's another way to do it to get an identical, if not a very similar result. So that doing all of them in combination, I think, is the only way that you can be consistent as a creator without actually overdoing a certain concept.
I think the most viewed Instagram reel, is it the Kurkure reel that she did, or was there something else which did more than 20 million?
Actually, Kurkure reel did,
20
that
million.
and also
the
wedding biryani. Wedding biryani.
Okay. So do you want to talk about the Kurkure reel? Because I boasted saying I created the Japan chicken video in 40 minutes, and I was thinking that is the quickest video to do more than 1 million.
I think there was a reel, or rather there was an audio that was trending almost 2 years ago, which was a very childish voice saying 10 rupees for Kurkure. That's all the concept was. And yes,
Turture.
and everyone's eaten Kurkure before. So the only thing was, okay, Kurkure is 10 rupees. If I add, say, maybe another 10 rupees max, can I make another dish? That's all the idea was. So it was literally no time, no effort. I was like, okay, what can you get for another, say, 10 rupees? A little bit of onion, tomato, you'll probably make a salad. Same thing you might do in your house if you have sundal, or if you have peanuts, you'll do the same thing. So what will I do with Kurkure? The same thing. So that's literally all it took. One audio to spark a small thought in my head saying, let me not spend too much money, make it affordable and relatable to that audio, because it still has to be 10 rupees, right? It has to be believable. So in the same packet, throw in a bunch of ingredients, shake it, put it on a plate, and that's it. There was no way that I even expected that content to go well. I didn't even expect it to go 1 million. It was something that I found the audio very funny, and I showed that audio to everyone I know, and I watched it like 1 million times, just that audio. And I was like, no, I have to use this audio. I don't care the content I make for it. I personally love this audio and I want to make something for that. But apparently a lot of people also like that audio.
Yeah. So the one thing that I can see here is every single creator, when they pick up a trend or a trending audio, they try to do the exact same thing that the original creator has done it. And that's probably one of the not so ideal ways to create content, right? And நான் கேட்டது அவன் கொடுத்தது, there was something that was trending. So you take that cue, but you don't do exactly what someone has done. Fit it into your theme, fit it into the your niche. If it is food, if it's cooking, can you show something which is நான் கேட்டது கொடுத்தது? Same kurkure, can you use it in a way that I make something out of it? அந்த மாதிரி if you're able to inspire from that original and make it your own, then it actually is an inspiration from original. It's not a copy of original. And inspiration from original does it sometimes more than the original itself. So if you copy the original, there's already original. Why do we want to see the copy of it? So I think that's one important information for any content creator to deal with. And like that's what we have been doing, right? We don't literally copy anything. There is a trend, we'll do our adaptation of the trend. We don't literally copy the trend.
And now we've already got to 1 million on Instagram, the different platforms actually. But there's a long way to go from say 1 million to 5 million to 10 million, and it's definitely not the same journey. So do we have some sort of strategy, or is it just about figuring it out along the way?
I guess Instagram or YouTube as a platform keeps on changing. I guess even what works now might not work tomorrow. So it's all about figuring out, and the whole process itself is learning again. So I guess it's constant learning and then checking back on what works. So I guess there's no
I think the non-polite version of Sam answer is அதே பார்த்துட்டேன் பார்த்துக்கலாம். That's what Sam wants to say. If not for the video, I think that's exactly what Sam would have said.
But the reality is also that we don't even know if these platforms would be relevant by the time we've grown.
Yeah, we might have some other new platform that we might adopt to.
And aren't we already on Threads? Or, we are also trying to kind of adapt and evolve. So is there like a strategy on when you jump onto a new platform, or is it just based on what information you have at that point, you kind of just go with it?
I guess it's basically about what we know about that platform at that stage, because every platform grows less. So you can't come with a proper strategy as such, but for the first few weeks, we do have a strategy about from that particular point of time, and then we go about it. But then we also make sure that we change according to what's working on that platform.
Right.
And Sam, from someone like you both managing social media, what do you want the content creators here to do? Because now looks like we have a lot more content creators, right? Yeah. So if there is some advice that you would want to give us, do this, do that, follow this, what would that be? Except give the video on time. That obviously you would have.
I think we shouldn't lose our originality in trying to create a content. We shouldn't lose our originality, and at the same time we shouldn't be afraid to go out of the comfort zone and try something new. Keep experimenting something new.
Great point. I think in fact you should give this speech to the all new creators here also, and I think that's applicable to all the creators watching also. Everyone who followed your page followed it for a purpose. And there was a purpose towards why they followed you. If you go against the purpose, you start going down. You have to stick to the purpose. Great point. I mean, once in a while, it's nice for someone to remain. I wouldn't have been able to articulate this point until you brought it up. Great.
So I think with that, we've actually discussed a lot of things when it comes to going from 0 to 1 million. And I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of things that we've missed, and I'm sure that a lot of individual creators also have their own journeys of going from a 0 to 1 million. But I think from a brand perspective, this would have given a fair enough understanding for anyone listening or watching this. So maybe in the next episode, we'll touch on a different topic that, I don't know, that could be of interest. So if there are any suggestions, we'd be happy to hear back as a brand on what you'd like to hear from us, either food, content, or anything about cooked. And until then, stay tuned for the next episode.
I think that's called a wrap, right?
Yeah.